my personal top 10 favorite Pokemon of all time. Now, since Gen 6, newest gen, is now officially out, I feel as if it's time to finally, collect all the Pokemon together and finally decide what is my top 10 favorite. There's a lot. There's now a little over 700 Pokemon. So I had a lot to choose from. It took me a bit, but I think I finally got like a nice good list of Pokemon that I like. But we're gonna start off with the honorable mentions, like about just a handful of Pokemon that I thoroughly enjoy, but sadly did not make the top 10 list. So we'll start off with that, and after the honorable mentions, we will jump into the top 10. Alright, we shall start with the honorable mentions, starting with the Flabebe, Floette, and Florges set. First fairy type I ran into. I love flowers. They were adorable in every way imaginable, and Florges just turned to this really wicked looking, like this queen flower, and I was like, that's awesome. And since it was a fairy type, I wanted a fairy type on my team. I was like, she's in. Next would be Joltik Galvantula. Bug electric type in black and white, and I remember first seeing it, and I was like, this thing's really cool, and I just had to have it on my team. Electric type's my favorite, and when they threw in bug in the mix, I was sold. Next would be Ludicolo. He's a dancing Mexican duck. What else do you need? Nothing. That's what. Anyways, he's so fun. He's just a fun Pokemon, and he looks so quirky and wacky. Look at him. Look at that smile. Next up would be Tangela. There's honestly no really specific reason, but I remember when I was really young, I fell in love with Tangela. And I honestly, till this day, I can't even explain why. I just really like Tangela. It's kind of that simple. Next would be Slowking. Just by the simple fact that it's an evolved form of Slowpoke and Slowbro. Who knew that a Slowpoke could turn into a Slowking? I love the design. I love like the crown-looking thing. And when he talked in the movie, I was sold. Awesome Pokemon. Last but not least for the honorable mentions would be Zapdos. I usually don't really pick legendaries, but this one I kind of had to because he's probably my favorite legendary. At least one of them. Top tier. He's just this wicked looking design bird that's very pointy and edgy, don't get cut, and he's electric. Again, I just have a weakness for electric Pokemon, and he's by far my favorite. And that would be it for the honorable mentions. Number 10. Lunatone. When I first saw this Pokemon in Ruby and Sapphire, I instantly fell in love with its simplistic design. I really liked the black circle with the red eye and the crescent moon shape, obviously, Lunatone. But one thing that I can connect well with this Pokemon is that nighttime is my favorite time of day, is the nighttime. Most of the stuff that I do is at night, hobbies at night, hanging out with friends at night. Not only that, there was one special moment that I had with one of my friends connecting to this Pokemon. One day I was driving my friends around town, just having a good time, just doing random stuff, when one of my friends handed me a Lunatone card and said, here, I know how much you like the Lunatone, so I want you to have this. It was a Lunatone card that was a ground type, or ground, rock, or fighting. That's kind of usually how it is in the card game. But I looked at it, and it was a Lunatone up in the night sky with a bunch of stars behind him. And I thought it was a really beautiful looking card. So I hung it up right above the driver's seat in the little flap that you usually open up. There's a little mirror. Check yourself out while you're driving. Wouldn't suggest it, by the way. And every time I look up, I always think of just that little moment. And it just makes Lunatone just as special every time I see it. That's why Lunatone made number 10 on my list. Number 9. Krookodile. When I first saw this Pokemon in black and white version, I thought he was probably one of the coolest Pokemon I have ever seen. The ground and dark type add to, the cool factor, in my opinion. Just something about this Pokemon really just screamed to me, hey, you need me on your team, just to be cool. And not only that, the Sandiles, of course, in the anime, taking place with the Squirtle Squad with the sunglasses and stuff. I feel as if Crocodile is like the epitome of cool in the black and white set. So, not much of a big reason why I like him so much. He's just really cool, the design's wicked looking, and by far he is just one badass looking Pokemon. Number 8. Hippowdon. The reason why this Pokemon made my top 10 list is for the simple fact that hippos are actually my favorite animal. Yeah, I know, kind of weird. Out of all the animals that exist, a hippo ends up being my favorite. But can't do anything about it. I love hippos. They're awesome. They can be adorable and terrifying at the same time. Now, when I first heard about them coming out with a hippo Pokemon, I was kind of worried. They could be really cool, really dumb. But they did not disappoint me, except for the first form. The first form kind of looks silly. That's why I chose the second form, specifically. The sand pouring out of its back was by far the coolest thing that I saw on Hippowdon. And I also like the fact that the male and female version have different color variations. Male being the brown, and basically the female being the all black. So, Hippowdon found a beautiful spot on my top 10 list. And you have no idea how happy it made me that my favorite animal, finally, after 4 generations, got a Pokemon. Number 7. Pangoro. Now, Pangoro is a panda. I'm pretty sure you guys have found this out by looking at him. But pandas are tied in with hippos. Pandas and hippos. Favorite animals. Those two. Top 2. Bam. I also love the Kung Fu Panda movies. Those are some of my favorite animated movies. But besides the point. The point is, I saw that there was going to be a panda Pokemon. He was one of the first Pokemon to actually be shown from the new X and Y. And I was like, alright, okay, yeah, a little cute panda, leaf in its mouth, it's freaking adorable. I'd imagine that there was going to be an evolved form. And then Pangoro just pops out of nowhere and blows my mind. When I first saw him, I honestly thought that he was one of the coolest looking Pokemon I've ever seen. I mean, even though there's nothing too crazy about his design, there's nothing too, spectacular, nothing that really, just kind of sticks out, I guess. It fits. The design of Pangoro, I think, fits. Nothing too flashy, nothing too crazy. There's no karate belt or pants or some kind of weapon. No, it is a big panda with this mean look on its face, the plant in its mouth, the big fists, and the ruffled up fur. I think all of it ties in perfect to the design, and I saw him, and he was part of my main team in X and Y, most definitely. How could I not? I mean, he's a panda, and I love pandas. That is why he made number 7 on my list. Number 6. Duskull. The one thing that I can give Duskull is that he kind of cheated. Yeah. Because skulls are kind of my weakness. I love skulls. I love the look of skulls. I think they look awesome. Duskull also kind of reminds me of my dad. Not because he's dead or a Pokemon, but because my dad also loves skulls. That's how I kind of got into it. So whenever I see Duskull, I kind of think of my dad. And, I don't know, just kind of makes me happy. He's also just really cool looking. A little small flying looking ghost Pokemon with the skull with a glowing red eye. Love it. Absolutely love it. Surprisingly, I've never made Duskull a part of my team in any of the games ever. I've always gotten one, sure, but I've never actually made one a part of my team. For some odd reason, psychic types and ghost types are the 2 types that I rarely ever use. Little known fact, psychic type is my least favorite, but I don't know. I mean, I like ghost Pokemon, but for some reason I don't really use them that often. But that does not take away my love for Duskull. He's just such a cool looking Pokemon. I love him. Reminds me of my dad. Happy thoughts. Scary thoughts. Then I get sad. But Duskull made number 6. I love him. Love everything about him. I think that I should make him a part of my team in X and Y. Maybe I could find one in the trade network. We'll see. Number 5. Ampharos. The one thing that kind of caught me off guard with this Pokemon is, when I was playing Gold and Silver, all that good stuff, found a Mareep. I'm like, oh, this cute little electric sheep. Love it. Love everything about it. So I caught it, trained it, So throughout the course of the game, training it, I'm like, ooh, Flaffy. It's a standing up sheep, pink and fluffy. It's great. And so, I'm training my Flaffy. And then it started evolving again. And I was like, whoa, hold up. This thing has a third of evolution? I didn't know it. Back then, I did not know that Mareep and Flaffy had a third evolution. No idea. So okay, I'm sitting there watching this thing evolve. I'm like, okay, is it just gonna be a bigger sheep? Is it gonna be more fluffy? Or is it gonna be like a shaven, like a completely bald sheep? I'm not sure if I was gonna like this. And then BAM! Out of nowhere. Ampharos. Seriously, Ampharos. Soon as I saw it, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I was like, dude, this thing looks freaking sweet, man, with the black lines and the red ball and the tail and the electric. And blah! Amazing. Blew my mind. Again, electric type. Favorite type. Have a weakness for it. Ampharos. Amazing. I kind of nerdgasm over Ampharos a bit because just back then when I was a lot younger, it literally blew my mind. It was one of those few Pokemon that actually where I had to throw my freaking Game Boy Color across the room, and then I was like, oh my god, did I break it? And yeah, Ampharos. Love everything about it. Definitely has been a main part of my team for a few games, and can't get enough. Can't get enough of that Ampharos. Number 4. Forretress. Now, I believe this Pokemon is pretty underrated, very underlooked. Not many people talk about him, shown, used, etc., etc. But Forretress kind of had the same effect on me that Ampharos did. I was like, okay, a Pinecone Pokemon. What's gonna come of this? What's gonna come of a Pinecone? I was like, maybe it turns into this pine tree, this wicked-looking pine tree. I don't know. So I evolve it, and boom! It's this metal ball with these eyes and these little things sticking out. I don't know what it is, but for some odd reason, I loved them. I don't know. It's just like this. It can close itself shut in this metal ball, and I don't know. It floats, and it's just so cool. Like Forretress, it's just this hard shell Pokemon of death and justice. Forretress is a part of my secondary team at the moment in X and Y. I have my main team that I used in the Elite Four, and I have a secondary team that I'm going to use. I'm going to kind of go through the beginning. All of them are going to be very low levels, and I'm going to raise them up all the way up to 80s, 90s, maybe even 100. I don't know if I'm going to put that much time. We'll see. Who knows? But Forretress has always been another personal favorite. Kind of, like I said, shares the Ampharos syndrome. Blew my mind when I saw it. I'm like, dude, how did this turn to this? How did a pine cone turn into this metal ball? I don't know. I love the look. I love the look, and it really affected me just the way Ampharos did. So they share them, but the one reason why I put Forretress above Ampharos is because Forretress, the name, the simplistic name, is just implying that it is just this unstoppable force, and I think that adds to the, quote, cool factor of Forretress. And turning from a pine cone to a metal ball with eyeballs and stuff was just way more of a drastic change in my opinion, so I think it deserved the slight one-up over Ampharos. No offense, Ampharos, I love you, but Forretress, man, what up? Number 3. Alright, number 3, Latias. Let's start off by saying Latias is adorable. Done. I can move on. No, I'm just kidding. What really sold it for me, I would have to say, with Latias is probably the movie. I mean, the movie with Latios and Latias brought tears to my eyes and how amazing it was. It is definitely like top 3 favorite Pokemon movies. That might actually be number 1. It might be Pokemon the first movie. No, it's a little cliche to like the first movie, but man, oh god, the memories of that. But when I saw her in the movie, it seriously just kind of put me in a state of awe when Latias could change into a human being. That kind of baffled me. And I was like, what? Latias can turn to a human? Like I don't know, man. That kind of psyched me out a bit. It caught me off guard. And just the movie is what really impacted me with my love of Latias. And again, Ruby and Sapphire. I was like, okay, Lugia, I would have to say top 5 favorite legendaries out of all of them. And when I saw Latios and Latias, I was like, dude, these kind of remind me of Lugia, like a smaller. It's like taking Lugia, splitting him up into 2 different halves, a boy and a girl form, and smaller. That's how I kind of envision Latios and Latias. But the movie is what mainly sold me about Latias, and also in my game I had. Wait, man, I can't even remember whether or not I had Latios or I think I had Latias in my game. Yeah, I had Sapphire. I think I had Latias. I hope I had Latias. I can't remember. Because I know, Ruby was red, Sapphire was blue, but sometimes they, like, switch it up. It's like, oh, if you get the red game, you get the blue. You get the blue, you get the red. I can't remember. But Latias, by far, was one of my favorites in Ruby and Sapphire. And she made a comfortable spot in my top 3. Definitely love Latias. No doubt about that. Number 2. Magnemite. Good God, I love Magnemite. I thoroughly enjoy Magnemite. Like, it's like, oh, hey, he's a little ball with magnets and with some screws and a big eyeball in the middle. What's the big whoop, zip, zop, zoop, bop, Bill Cosby? So I say to them, no. No, you are wrong. Magnemite. It's just electric type, for one, and, some excellent steel moves, some excellent electric type moves, because, it's Magnemite. What are you going to do? You going to fight him? Didn't think so. Try punching him? Break your hand. Break your hand. Magnemite kind of suffers the Tangela syndrome for me. There was no, specific reason that I really liked Magnemite. There was no, okay, I love Magnemite for this specific reason. There was really none. I just loved Magnemite for who it was. I mean, it's just this little floating magnet Pokemon. And I really liked him. It was just like this floating robot-looking thing. And electric type and electric type. Electric type. But Magnemite was a big part of my team for not so much the first game, but for Gold and Silver. I remember finding a Magnemite in Gold and Silver and making him official part of my team. Then also Magneton, which, the evolved form, which is basically 3 Magnemites in one, is a part of my main team in X and Y. Right now he's like level 84 or something like that. And my friend got a shiny Magneton off of the trading network in X and Y, and I gave him $20 for it. That's how much I love Magneton. I gave my friend $20 for a shiny Magneton, just so I could have him. I don't know why. I just love Magnemite and everything about him. That is why he's number 2. I've loved him since the very beginning, and he just holds a special place in my heart, but not as much as number 1. Number 1! Totodile. The one thing that I'm going to say first is, I know it's kind of cliche to like a starter Pokemon the most, because most people pick a starter Pokemon because, that's the first Pokemon you get. You raise it up. It's like the first Pokemon you raise to level 100 and, all that stuff. But I actually have a very specific reason on why I like Totodile. So back when I was younger, I would always watch Pokemon. Back in the day, it was all about Pokemon, the cards, the show, the games, go to school, talk about it, trade, etc. But when I was watching the show one day, I was like in focus mode. I was focus mode right now. Like I was deep. I was deep in the show. And I was just watching Ash using Totodile, and him and Totodile kind of interacting with one another as trainer and Pokemon should. And I sat back, I'm like, you know what? Totodile reminds me a lot of myself. He's a little tiny guy. You know, I'm not a big guy, I'm small. He's wild and crazy and always happy and always has that goofy smile on his face. And I just remember, back in the heyday when I was young, I was just that little kid that always had a smile on his face and was always just really crazy and happy and outgoing and really loud and I just found a kind of a piece of myself in Totodile. And that's what really hooked me on the Pokemon was being able to see myself in a Pokemon. And I didn't think I would ever do that, like actually relate to a Pokemon on a personal level based on their personality in the show. I didn't think I would ever do that. It just kind of seemed silly in a way. But I don't know, something about that day. I'll always remember that day. I can't remember the episode, sadly, but I just remember watching Totodile and be like, man, if I were a Pokemon, that would be me. I would be a Totodile. No doubt about it. And I would have to say water type would definitely be a close second to electric type. When I play the card game, which I don't really play that much anymore, I have a water electric deck. And I just really feel that I can relate to Totodile in a very personal way. And it's ever since that day, he's always just been my buddy. He's been my pal. I love Totodile to pieces. He definitely is the only Pokemon that I can connect to on a very personal and relatable level, and that is why he deserves the tippity top, the throne, the number one spot on my top 10 favorite Pokemon list. Alright, there you go. There you have it. Top 10 favorite Pokemon, just like across the board, gens 1 through 6. Just over the course of the years of Pokemon, there's just so many now. So many, and I'm not one of those people that dislike a lot of them. There's not that many Pokemon that I hate or dislike. I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, Gen 1 and Gen 2 were the best. They were the best. Or the ones that just say, Gen 1, that's it. That's the only good generation. That kind of blows my mind because there's so many cool Pokemon out there and no one's just willing to give it a chance. And it's kind of depressing. But anyways, that was my top 10. I hope you enjoyed. Thinking about doing top 10 least favorite Pokemon. I gotta organize that list. I gotta pick and choose. There's already a couple that I know that'll be on there. But that is it. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.